Hey, welcome to the podcast, Asfur. Did I say it right?
Thank you for having me. Yes, sir. Thank you for
Gotcha.
having me. That's cool.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. It's funny. I met you through a friend that I work with, Mohammed or Masif
Yeah.
is so
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
because we were just talking about common names.
Mm,
So it's like it helps to have a
mhm.
nickname to kind of help you stand out, but Mo stands out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Muhammad and I went to school together. We were in middle school and halfway through high school
Mm,
before switching schools. But yeah, he's a very dear friend. We
nice.
talk from time to time. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's good to meet other people from people that you've come to know as friends and like seeing someone else from their upbringing and being like, oh, okay, cool. Like it
Yeah.
like you meet good people and you're like, okay, of course they have to know other good people. But one question I like to ask
Absolutely.
every guest is who do you say you are as a way to just open up and introduce you to the audience?
Well, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like I'm a human first,
Mhm,
but I don't like labels. I don't like to be categorized and boxed in into a one thing. Like, when like someone goes by their work or by their title, like this guy's a doctor, this guy's an engineer, this guy's an artist. Like I do many things, and so it's a very tough way to like just label myself using one word to describe myself because I like to do multiple things. So I design websites, I work in insurance, I practice yoga twice a week. I do Muay Thai, I play basketball. I mean, I do many things, but those are mostly hobbies and interests. But in terms of work, I try to say I'm multifaceted in terms of like flexibility of trying new things and learning new things. Even when it comes to like music and like instruments, I just picked up a handpan a couple months ago, and that's an instrument I've been in love with for 2 years now, but I've never like owned one until recently. And
mhm.
it's such a beautiful thing to have, like to pick up an instrument and to learn it from scratch. It's just like picking up a guitar or playing the drums for the first time. It's like you get that feeling of, okay, I'm gonna learn now. I'm gonna like try to progress to the next level, but also on my own pace. But the trick is like you have to stay consistent with everything in life. If you don't remain consistent and dedicate your time and efforts, you're not gonna progress. So yeah.
Gotcha. I, what is a handpan? Can you kind of describe that for me? I'm not too familiar with
Handpan
it.
is an instrument that was recently like discovered in the past 20 years, I think in the year 2000 or early 2000s.
Mhm.
And it's just like a round, you could say like a drum, like a round ground drum, and it has like 6 to 8 notes. And it's all handmade, hence the name handpan. And it takes around 25 to 30 days to make one, if you're building one yourself or you're having it customized to be built. And it comes in different notes, key notes, so it can be in G major, G minor, or in C minor. And then yeah, it's just an instrument where you play with your hands, and you just have to feel the notes. And the way they're numbered is like they're 8 notes, like 6 to 8 notes. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's the top as a seven, or it could be a 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So that's how you kind of learn. And it's just one of those fun instruments where sometimes you don't even need to have like a set of like notes to read from. You can just play whatever.
Mhm.
Or if you want to be more advanced, you can go on YouTube. There's a lot of resources online. There's a lot of like content that you can learn from. So it's pretty fun. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
It sounds fun. And
Yeah.
like, did you get involved in the process of making it, or like, have you seen one made
No,
before?
I had it commissioned. I know a person locally here who is a handpan player,
Mhm.
and he basically I asked him to make me one, and I basically bought it. And I just watched the whole process of him making it, and he was sending me photos while he's doing it, and it's like, so I got to be part of the building process as well as the final product. So I
Wow,
just found that quite interesting to witness.
that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And it
So
comes
it's
with a little bag as well. So you can carry it as a backpack.
nice.
Yeah.
So
Like
you
it's
can
cool.
have it
Yeah.
to go with you wherever you go, and it's like
I
easy
mean, not
carry.
everywhere because it's kind of big. It's almost as like it's like around like imagine the Ninja Turtles
Mhm.
having their shell bag. Like
Right.
that's how big it is.
Oh
So
wow.
you're carrying yeah.
Got you.
That's pretty much the size of it on your back, and it's pretty hard to fit in many places. So if you have a big car or the back seat or somewhere, you can go. And but in terms of weight, it's not that heavy to carry. But
Got you.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess is it similar to like the Panamanian drums, the ones that make that like high pitch, like I'm thinking about it like it was in one of Donald Glover's or Childish Gambino's summer
Mhm.
songs, and it's got that like bum 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 bum.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's similar
got you.
sound.
Okay.
Yeah. So depending on the material, so you have titanium or you have um steel or titanium, and then I think there's another third material that you can use. So depending on the type of material is the key of the note. So it could be high or it could be low, depending on the material that's used. So yeah.
That's pretty neat. Do you write
Mhm.
your own music, or do you like to have it to kind of like goof around with and just be able to create whatever comes to your
So
mind?
for me, it's more of like a therapy actually, because it's like when you're playing the sound, you listen to the notes. For me, like music is something that has always been a big part of my life. Like growing up, my dad used to always play me songs on his tape and in the car. And then from tapes there were CDs. I'm sorry, vinyl records, and then CDs. And I own all those things. Like I have them all in my room because it's like I prefer having physical, tangible things rather than the digital. Like I have my digital library, my Apple Music and my Spotify and all that,
Hmm.
but it's way different than having the CD, and you're looking at the booklet and you're reading the lyrics, or you're holding a vinyl, you're putting it in, you're putting the needle in, and you're hearing that crisp sound of the it's just a different feeling. And yes, I've learned to value music at a very young age because um I guess it's from my parents. My dad used to play a lot of Arabic music, and like there was a lot of melody in
Mm.
those tunes, especially back in the day. Like songs were like 13, 14, 15 minutes. They were long songs, and they were mostly like they were never ending, but it was very catchy. And like the chorus was something that could just be stuck in your head, but it wasn't that annoying stuck. Like, these days you have TikTok and stuff, it's hyper
Yeah.
consumerism, like all these dances and songs, and it's addicting. But then it was more of like the lyrics made more sense than the actual song. So you would remember the song for the lyrics
Hmm.
and not for the tune, which is the
Hmm.
opposite of what you do right now. You
Right.
right now it's always about the beat, like the tempo,
Yeah.
3, 4, and it's like, and it's like, okay, now you do this, and it's like, no, like music had more substance. I don't want to be one of those people that are like purists. I like to call myself a hip hop purist, but the sound back then, like if you're looking at producers and like the way they used to create sound,
Hmm.
they had to dig through crates literally, and like one of my biggest inspirations is Jay Dilla. And I had the opportunity to go and study in Detroit, Michigan, and I was there for 5 years. So it was like after high school, I graduated, I got a full scholarship. I had the privilege of going to the US to study there. And I was accepted to 3 or 4 different universities, but I chose to go to Detroit, Michigan for the music. And that's a very strange reason why anybody would go to university. Like a choice is like you could have been in LA, you could have been in Chicago, you could have been in, Texas or whatever. But
Hmm.
I chose Michigan because of the history, because of the rich, like like the jazz, the
Yeah.
elements, the jazz, the hip hop, the like
Like the Motown,
the architecture, like everything about the city. Like I've growing up, obviously, like influences are from music and movies, right? Like those are the main top two influences. Probably gaming, you could say, like PlayStation and stuff. I grew up on that. I have all my consoles like from PlayStation 1 to 4 to 5. But it's one of those things where like growing up, you're always looking at colors, colors and sound. Like those are the two main things. And the idea is to hear the colors and see the sound. that might sound strange to you, but like something that the Pharrell used to say is like, um, you have to really visualize what you're like you when like what the one thing I really learned to appreciate like what really made me appreciate music more is watching my favorite artists and performers live
Mm,
because it's a way more vivid experience to be in a concert and listen to all those sounds that you usually listen through a headphone or through the speakers,
mhm.
be in like in like a 360. I don't know how to
Yeah,
explain it, but it's like
I get
it's
what you're
way more
saying.
personal. It's way more
Yeah, yeah,
personal. And I've met most of my favorite artists live, including Childish Gambino. I met Kendrick Lamar 3 times. I saw
nice.
DMX before he passed away in 2012. I saw Nas 3 times. So I managed like uh, to see most of my favorite artists, Erica Badu. So all of these artists played a huge role. He played a huge part of my in me growing up, and the fact that I got to see them live, and I met a few of them in person.
Yeah,
um but it creates a very, I don't know how to explain it, like it makes me relate to the music even more because sometimes it's not even just the lyrics, it's about an emotion. It's not always just about the lyrics or the beat. It's just music can take you places that um you can't really visit in the physical sense. Like you just have to let your mind wander and float and go to
yeah,
cloud 9.
yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm picking up what you're saying. When it comes to music, I've only been to one or two music concerts ever in my life, and I think
Mhm.
it might be only one, but the main one I remember is going to Pitchfork over in
Oh
Chicago.
wow.
And usually they have
Wow.
like a whole ensemble of groups come through and different things like that, a mix of rock, hip hop, and other. And I think two of the main groups that they had there I was interested in seeing was Run the Jewels and Chance the Rapper.
Oh
And
wow.
like I started
Mhm.
listening to some of the songs beforehand and like, okay, this is kind of catchy. And
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
saw some of Run the Jewels and I think Chance was supposed to be closing out the night. And you just see like how people get excited. They're trying to get closer to the stage and like people might be like elbowing, but like they just get into
okay.
that mood. And I hadn't heard a lot of Chance the Rapper's songs before, so I didn't know that he played part of like the theme song from Author, the Aardvark from PBS, like way back, like
Oh,
what I grew up on.
oh,
So it's
okay.
like I started hearing
Yeah.
them playing that, and it just took me back. And then they come
Nostalgia.
in with like
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the drums and everything. It's just like
Mm,
when you talk about just that, it helps you kind of drift and just being in the flow, being in that emotion, like where the music, it just does something different to you. So like when I think it was something Sunday morning, maybe. It's another song that he did. Maybe he performed it
okay.
for Obama when he was president. And
Mm-hmm.
like certain songs you don't think about it, but certain songs it's like it puts you in a certain mood or state where like you could be crying, you could be happy, you could be sad, and like all of a sudden it helps you just be in that space and you're just like, oh wow, okay, I needed that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're
Yeah.
saying, like just to have that therapy that may draw out emotions from you or help you to just like let go of certain things that you might have been holding on to and not knowing. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Like for me, it's like whenever, let's say, I have a long day at work, or I'm trying to get my mind off things, I go to music or I go to sports. And those are the things that kind of let me blow off steam or just, let loose. But it's just beautiful that we have that and that exists, So this is those simple things that we should be grateful for. We don't really notice them, like like being able to hear sound, like that's a big blessing. That's a huge thing. And yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
What's funny about that when you talk about gratitude and just being in like a healthy space to recognize what it is that you have. I've noticed that the times that I was down or just feeling in a bit of a funk, I wasn't listening to as much music. And even going back
Mm,
through my music selection on Spotify, I was like, okay, maybe I'll maybe I'll take this off the list. Like this one
yeah.
doesn't kind of keep me in an
Get you
uplifted
where you
mood.
need.
It's like
Yeah.
even if I'm upset, it's like if you put on this song, you're not gonna be upset for long. Like you'll get over it. It'll pass. Like you'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like like as humans, we keep chasing like the next big thing. Like you're trying to find the next milestone, the next like what are you getting from these from having like all these materialistic things? Like we take things for granted as humans. Like we don't really like but that kind of it makes you like miss out on the most important things in life because you just don't look at the full picture. You're focusing on like one aspect, but you tend to neglect the other things around you that help you shape into the person you are today. Like I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the challenges and like all my mistakes that I made growing up led me to where I am today because I just look at it as a if you look at it as a piece of puzzle. It's like I'm trying to find the next piece of puzzle, but this puzzle is never ending and like
Yeah.
it only ends until you die, and that might be a bit morbid, but like
Mhm.
it's one of those things where you're just trying to like I can speak for myself by saying I try to find I'm searching for my purpose, for my true calling, and it's like I'm just trying to fill my void with pleasures, and I take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that, and hoping that it would fulfill me, but in reality it's like the only fulfillment comes from within. Like you have to really be true to yourself and love yourself, and when you achieve that you can learn how to love others and appreciate others. So one thing about me is that I can talk the talk, but when it comes to taking action, I find it hard to do. Like I can give the best advice to friends and family and pick up people when they're down, but for some reason I can't do it for myself, and that's very strange. I don't know if that's me being an empath or me just finding excuses for myself, but I kind of just find pleasure in seeing others happy and like being kind to the ones who haven't seen kindness, or the ones who have been neglected, the ones who have been ignored, the ones who have been abused and tortured and manipulated. Like I just go there trying to like save people. And the funny thing is that I'm kind of attracted to that. Like I'm just, for example, I'm sitting minding my business. Someone messages me on my Instagram or on Twitter, wanting to connect and wanting to share their personal lives or what they're going through. Like it's nice to be a person that people can relate to and to that they can trust, but it can also be draining, in a sense where like I'm carrying other people's problems now, as well as my own.
Right.
And it reaches a point where it's like I have to say no because it's as tough as it is, it's like I reach my capacity in terms of handling my emotions or knowing even my time. Like it's just I can't dedicate enough time for others when I don't dedicate time for myself. So that's why I try to every few months or so I try to have a social media detox where I just log off of Instagram or Twitter or whatever social media account that I'm active at the most, and take a break from that, because um like the internet can be very consuming, especially if you're all on all those platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. Like for me, I'm very active on my Instagram. I post stories like daily
Yeah.
in excessive amounts and a very unhealthy amounts. I think you've noticed. And it's funny because a lot of people, I don't post for myself. I post to release because I have ADHD and I have a lot of things that go in my mind, and my mind is always racing. And if I don't release, I would literally go insane. I would I would self-combust and like into or just burn in the flames. So like I have to find a way to release and give out that whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's through memes, whether it's videos, whether it's just a joke or whatever. So yeah, that's my contribution to society.
Well,
Posting memes.
I mean, I appreciate it, especially the memes
Yeah,
because it's like it's
yeah,
I
yeah,
started like going through some of your stuff and I was like, okay, it'll go from something funny to something serious. It's like, oh, like you got my
Yeah,
attention. But
yeah,
it's one of those things like I appreciate you for doing that. And also it's like
yeah.
I think it's a step in the right direction where you don't have to self-flagellate yourself in a sense where it's like you're whipping yourself for not doing this, but it's like you become conscious enough to say, Hey, let me log out of this for a month. Let me just back
Mm,
off, and then I can come and just word vomit or just express to be like, okay, I got this out of my
mhm,
system. But being able to have a little bit of both of those, I think it's a good thing where you're conscious of what it is that you need and then when it is that you
yeah,
need to correct. That way it's like
absolutely.
kind of back to the puzzle that we're talking about. Like it's something you're always looking to put the next piece in there, but you're not necessarily going to finish it until you're done. And I
Mhm,
was listening to an interview yesterday with Matthew McConaughey and Jordan B.
mhm,
Peterson, and it was interesting as they were talking because there's this concept that always comes up where you can become very cynical about like what the reality of life is. It's like, oh, so you're this one in 7, 8 billion people. Like, why does my life matter? Oh, it's gonna end at the end of this. Like, oh, everything is just like you're born, so you die. So it's like, okay, so we kind of know what life is about. Like, you're born one day, you die the next. But is the best approach to go about it in a morbid manner to be like, hey, there's an end goal, so I'm just gonna play this game the worst way possible? Or is it better for you to say, despite all these things happening, despite bringing a life into this world that seems chaotic, it's like, why not make it the best that you can? And that way,
mhm,
it's like the next person can be encouraged to do just as good or do a little bit better. And it's like, that's the thing that's helped humans survive for so long. But
yeah,
like being cynical or just being down on yourself, it's not uncommon and it's the easiest
mm,
thing you can reach for. But it's like it's weird when some people kind of
mm,
just come to that realization. It's like we all come to that realization, but it's not like it's not groundbreaking like, oh man, why didn't I think of this? Why don't we just why don't we all just say screw life? It's like we don't do that
mhm,
because it doesn't serve us as a whole. Like it's unfortunate for the people that are no longer here, but, like, a lot of times it's, um it's difficult to deal with the repercussions of that, and it's always inspiring to see someone that's having a hard time, but they're willing to do enough for themselves, and then maybe if they've taken care of themselves, like, they can reach out and help someone else. But it's like on the flip side, you have people that do so much for other people, saying that they don't expect anything back, but they just do enough to convince themselves that they're not suffering inside. And
mm,
that's
mm,
the hard thing to see. And like you kind of
yeah,
mentioned being an empath, but like when you can do for other people, but recognize that you also need time for yourself and to kind of, if at the very least, step
yeah,
back and just be like, okay, I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to do one less activity. It's like, hey, that's
yeah.
something. It's progress. You didn't need to go solve world hunger today. It's like you just needed to take a break from social
Yeah,
media, and it's like you're going to be all right.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminded me of since you're talking about different stuff. I watched Mike Tyson interview recently, and he was talking. The guy who was interviewing him was asking him like, "Why did you not accept this fight for like I think it was $2 million and stuff?" He's like, "It's not about the money. I have peace of mind." And that really like resonated with me because it's like no amount of money in the world could buy you peace of mind if you don't have it. Like that's one thing everybody strives to have is just clarity and peace, and just like solitude, I guess, or just finding that the place where you can have just white noise, like without having to worry about finances or relationships or other external factors that you can't control. But having peace of mind is the most expensive thing you could have, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny when
yeah,
you can appreciate where you are. And money isn't a bad thing per se. It's just there's a difference in the relationship you have with money when you're not having to chase it, and you can be
Mm,
content without it. And then that kind of,
yeah.
it's funny how that makes room for you to have more. And I think I've heard Mike Tyson and other people that have quote unquote made it or become richer. It's like you fight so hard to be able to pay for things. And then finally, when you
Mm,
can pay for something, people go out of their way insisting to give you stuff for free. And it's like,
yeah,
huh, I
true.
wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, or you have all these, actors and celebrities who don't pay their taxes, and it's like you can afford to do so. There are people who can't pay their taxes, but you can, and you'd
Right.
rather go to jail and be chased by the IRS for no reason,
Yeah.
or their accountants are not paying attention and they end up being in trouble. So it's like these things, I mean, the way I feel like to navigate life is to not work hard, is to work smartly. And if you can delegate tasks and have people work for you, then that's a blessing. But at the same time, it's like you have to be accountable for those people, and you can't just keep blaming them for mistakes, because everybody's going to make mistakes. If you don't make them, others are going to make them. So it's all about how you react and how you treat those people as well. Because if you just get mad and you fire them, and you just have this you know mean persona, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm a firm believer of karma, and I believe if you treat people badly and you disrespect them in a way where you dehumanize them with words or actions, or whatever it is, it's gonna come back, if not for you, to your family, to your kids. And that's where, like, you have to accept it, you know
Right.
accept the consequences for your actions, in
Yeah.
in a way. But yeah, yeah.
It's funny, even on that point, it's like for someone that doesn't, that says that they don't want to or they don't have to accept the consequences for their action one way or another, it always seems to find the people. Because on the outside you
Mm-hmm.
might see someone that's quote unquote successful, where it's like, oh, they've got the fame, they've got the money, they've got the house, they've got whatever it is that's materialistic. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with the material, but it's like so many times it's the story's told over and over again. Like you can kind of read it like a book front to back. Oh, this person came out of nowhere, is like made away, or this person had money passed on to them. And then everything looked great on the outside, but inside they were dying. They were mean to their
Mm-hmm.
staff, they were harassing this person, they were harassing that, and it's like people maybe propped them up, or they just lost, they became disillusioned with who they were, and like there wasn't that accountability. So it's like all the while you might have
Yeah.
the dictator where someone's like, "Oh, they're winning. They're it's like they're the leader of this nation that's under tyranny." It's like, is that really
Yeah.
winning, where you can't trust the people that are supposed to be your closest advisors? You're having to murder people that oppose you. You're having to every single thing, like you go to bed and you wake up living a nightmare. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, is that really winning? Is that the end goal that everyone really needs to chase? Like, of course there's evil in the world, there's terrible things, but it's like, is
Mm.
that thing over there really something to strive for? Like, is that going to help you meet your end goal? Is that going to feed your family? Is that going to fulfill you at the end of the day? It's like you might be happy you took a picture with this famous popular person, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
what happens after?
What happens after
Yeah,
that?
it's like
Absolutely. I
the
mean, I,
picture
I guess
happened,
it's
but
it's yeah, I guess it's more of like an ego thing. It's just an ego trip, where if you have too much power and too much control over something, or responsibilities, it's like people tend to abuse it at some point, whether it's intentional or unintentional. There is going to be some abuse, because you can't have someone be given the authority and and the resources, and not expect them to overuse it, because there's always abundance in everything. Like even when it comes to breathing, like if you breathe too much or you breathe too little, it's like, so everything has to be in balance. And if you don't, balance your thoughts, balance your actions, and balance your behavior, I guess that's when things get out of control, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean it's not to say that things are never going to get out of control or you're never going to have an ego, but at least having that accountability piece, especially on a
Hmm.
personal level, it's like once you recognize you're out of balance, it's like, oh, okay, like something's not right. Like I can course correct. And people actually
Hmm.
appreciate that when someone can be like, oh, I was wrong. Like, let me change what I'm doing to not repeat the same thing and to where it's not Groundhog's Day over and over again. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like, are you really sorry? Or are you just
I
like
We're just
abusing our
saying it.
patience?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I've been on both sides of
mhm,
this, the apology, and it's like it just has to be sincere. And if it's not sincere, if it's coming out of just wanting to be forgiven, then that's just selfishness. That's just you wanting, like, I can talk about, I'm not gonna go in details, but like this past weekend, I've kind of jeopardized two really close friendships by saying the wrong things, and just, it might have sounded lighthearted, but what I never considered the other person's feelings and how they would think. Um, and it could have just been a simple phone call, but it ended up me being, um again, it was unintentional, but it ended up hurting that person, and that person is disappointed, they're hurt, and I tried apologizing, but I can't expect them to forgive me, because it's that's how they feel. And if they need some time to process it, then by all means, if they decide to end our friendship, then I can't control that. Like, I can only control my actions and how I react. But to me, it sounded like something minor that could have been avoided, or it was an overreaction. But to her, it could have been something that, was personal, and it was an invasion of privacy or something. So it's how you choose to have a perspective. So at the heat of the moment, I just thought it was a joke, and we were laughing about it. But later on, I realized that, what, it's not wasn't that funny to her. So maybe maybe we should be more considerate about others' feelings and other people, how they might, um respond to thought or the action, or whatever.
right,
So yeah.
right. I was gonna ask you, do you ever try to slow yourself down, like when you're just in your day to day, like doing this, doing that, like needing to feel like you have to have activities throughout your day? Do you ever, like similar to the social media thing, like saying, okay, I'm gonna log off for a month? Like, do you try
Mm.
to slow yourself down intentionally if you know that like you're someone that likes to go at a fast pace?
So I guess when it comes to like, going out with friends and socializing and stuff, pre-COVID, obviously, I used to really, really overdo it, like to a point where I would leave work, I'll go to an event, I'll go to a function, go to a party, and then be back home. And it's like, I just literally went to 5 events in one day. I can't be everywhere every time. I
Yeah,
need to either RSVP and decline, or just not show up, or just, not be there. But then it's like a pressure from colleagues, pressure from friends, to be present, to be there. But I
yeah,
realized that I can't be everywhere. So I think once COVID hit, like 2 years ago, that's when I was forced to calm down. I was forced to isolate, and that's when I went on a hiatus on Instagram, and I didn't post for 4 to 5 months, and people were very genuinely concerned, like to a point where strangers that I don't even know were trying to reach me and call me and check on me, which was very, very nice of them, because um I went from posting every day to like not posting for 4 or 5 months, and people were it became an addiction, not for me, but for them,
mhm,
because they were addicted to my content, and they needed that to start their day. They needed that to feel something, and it wasn't just one or two. It was definitely more than 10 people who either messaged me or called me saying that I really love your Instagram, and that's one thing that I look forward to every morning, and that's one thing that I look forward to after work, or whatever it is that keeps them going. Like that's the something, and so I feel kind of pressured to to uphold, but at the same time, I don't depend on them. I'm just doing what I like to do, and I post what I like to post. And if that is relatable to other people, then so be it. And sometimes I do the social experiment where I ask questions. I ask polls, and I let people vote and answer. And I feel like that's a great way to connect and engage with people. And then it's like I've cultivated like a sense of community where like it's we've I have internet friends who became in real life friends who we met after many years. I had a friend, I still have friends for over decades that we haven't met in real life, but we were friends on social media. And I have people who I've met in real life after 5, 6, 7 years and I just find it amazing. I find it really interesting that, growing up, our parents are like, don't talk to strangers. They're like, but it's like, here I am connecting with this stranger, and I'm spending the night. I'm spending, the weekend with them and their family.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? So our parents wouldn't understand this, but like, yeah, like I did one of the craziest things like last year was I had one phone call as if we are right now. It was a business call to a person who lives in Tanzania, and then I ended up from the business call a week after. I was just asking him about the weather, like a normal question. When you just start a conversation, like, how's the weather? How's this? He's like,
Right.
oh, you should
Right.
come by. You can stay at my place. And this is a complete stranger. And I spent a week, almost 5 days at his place. And
Wow.
then we ended up going to Zanzibar. We took the ferry to the island, and we spent another 5 to 6 days there. He had to end it early because he had work to do, but like
Mhm.
um this was a total stranger, and anything could have happened. But
Right.
I'm a very spontaneous person,
Yeah.
like 2019. I say this story all the time to my friends and like people who I meet. um I was at work one day in the middle of June, and I was stressed out. I was like, I need to go somewhere. I'm taking a week off, and it was coincidentally during Eid, so like we get an extra 4 or 5 days. So
Mhm.
I was getting like a total of 10 days off,
Yeah.
as a holiday. So I took a week off plus the 3 or 4 days, and I just booked a one-way ticket to Amsterdam.
Mm.
Um,
Good
booked a one-way
choice.
ticket to Amsterdam, stayed there for a few days, just solo. Like that was my first solo trip. I've never done solo trips before, and I just rented a bike, biked around, went to a cafe, ate some food, and yeah, and it was a fun experience. And then a few days later, my friend calls me. He lives in Cologne, Germany. He's like, "That's where you should come to Germany." I was
Mhm.
like, "Sure, let's do it." I hop on the train and I go to Germany, and I stay with him for like a week, and then he's like, "Oh, I have this photo shoot. Like, do you mind me just, go to the studio and do this photo shoot?" Um, I was like, "Sure, why not?" So we ended up shooting, and then, it's just that it's just, just random things happen. And then my friend calls me, and she's like, "Oh, I swear I'm going to Egypt. But my best friend and her boyfriend broke up. Do you want to join?" I was like, "Sure, let's do it. When is it? Tomorrow? Okay." Wanted to book the one-way flight from Germany. I took a bus from Cologne to Frankfurt, and then took
Mhm.
a one-way ticket from Frankfurt to Sharm el-Sheikh, Germany,
Mhm.
Egypt, sorry, Sharm
Yeah.
el-Sheikh, Egypt. And I landed at midnight. She landed 2 hours later, and then we just drove to this beach house for like a week staycation. That was all expense paid. So this is how I traveled to 3 countries in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so like I just sometimes I just go with the flow, and I try to like because if you take life too seriously, then you're just putting unnecessary pressure, and just gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah. And I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes to that point, it's like
yeah,
you could be putting up just artificial boundaries, being like, well, I can't do this because it's like
yeah,
instead of creating reasons not to do things, it's
yeah,
you do what you can and take advantage of opportunities when they come up.
yeah,
That's good.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny because when I think about it, the trips that I've made, I've maybe made more trips stateside. Like I drove around Lake Michigan
Mm-hmm.
for a weekend over Labor Day weekend. And it was like I was like, well, I'm gonna go from the Chicago area down to Georgia, like southeast Georgia, and work there
Oh
for
wow.
the next 6 months, or ended up being 4 years. And I was like, before I go, I've got some time. Let me take these 4 days and do a road trip. I've never done a road trip before. It's like one of those solo dolo trips. And it's like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
drive my Chevy Malibu 2000 and just
Let's
drive around the
go.
lake between these port cities. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll start out on the first day, leave out of Chicago.
Yeah.
I've already been to Milwaukee, so I skip it,
Okay.
go to Port Washington, and I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. Like the water's super
Mm-hmm.
clean because it freezes up there most of the time, and like
Mm-hmm.
you've got people out there fishing. And at first, I thought it was like one of those what do you call it? You know, the fish that they have in some stores that you hit the button, play, and it, like, dances and whatnot?
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
this
yeah.
one, like, they had a rack of fish that were just, like, strung up next to the sign, and from a
Mm-hmm.
distance, they look like they might be fake fish, but, like, a few of them kinda wiggled a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, no,
Wow.
those are real fish." Like,
Wow.
they caught a whole string of them, and
Oh
I, like,
shoot. Yeah.
stopped into a shop, got some ice cream, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is cool." And I had 12 cities lined up. So by, like, the first day, I think I
Wow.
maybe got 3 cities in, and then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Maybe I'll sleep at a rest stop in my car
Mm-hmm.
instead of, like, booking a hotel for 3 nights and, like, having the costs add up. I'll spend money doing activities instead of spending money of somewhere to sleep." That first night
Yeah.
was super rough, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, 3 nights in the car isn't gonna work." Like, being 6'2",
No.
trying to sleep in a sedan, I was like, This isn't gonna work out." But, like, instead of just driving around Lake Michigan, I was like, "Let me take a detour up here towards Lake Superior." I saw, like, the first time I've ever seen, um, these things called the pictured rocks, and literally, you look at their
Mhm.
brochure and you look up, and it's like,
Wow.
you could have taken this picture with almost anything, it looks exactly the same. And, like, just seeing
Yeah.
things like that, though, it's like I wouldn't have planned that per se, but, like, one of my coworkers gave me the information, like, "Hey, these are cities, like, you can stop here, see something that's
Mhm.
engineering-like." He's like, I don't know if you'd be interested in this stuff. This is the place that makes shoes. This place makes, uh, toiletries and things like that. Not They make actual, like, porcelain toilets. Kohler, I think, is the
Oh,
name of the company." And I
okay.
was like,
Okay.
"I'm an engineer. How am I not gonna like it?" Like, I can sit down and watch, like,
Yeah.
how it's made, episodes like that, but actually seeing what some of these things would be, seeing the history of it, I found it kinda neat. Got to nerd out a bit, but
Mhm.
then, like, seeing things before they actually were developed and being put in restaurants and stuff like that was pretty neat. But to your point,
Interesting.
you gotta take advantage of the opportunities and not shy away from just trying something.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But I guess, when you are on social media, like, where can people find you, or how can people get in touch with you if you want them to?
I mean, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. My Twitter is mostly NFT content and crypto because that's where my other life is. I
Mm.
guess because when you're in the Web3 space,
Mhm,
it's kind of hard to just commit to one time zone because people are from different parts of the world.
mhm.
And I'm actually working with a friend of mine. We're actually building our NFT project that's coming up. It's launching next month in August.
Oh,
And
cool.
in the past 2.5 months, we've been building and networking and connecting.
Mhm,
And it's really beautiful how we can start something from nothing
mhm,
and build over 1,000 people that could come in, are active. We have a Discord, we have a Twitter, and
mhm,
we use Twitter Spaces mostly.
mhm,
And yesterday was the 40th episode where we've been hosting Twitter Spaces called the Vibe Show, and
mhm,
that's where we just come in, we hang out, and there's people coming in and pitch their product, their their projects and communities from different various projects, and we just talk and connect. And it's been 40 days. There was episode 40. So imagine the loyalty, the commitment of those people that joined, the ones that
Yeah.
are that have been there from the beginning, and the ones who came halfway through, and the ones who joined recently, and the new
Mhm.
ones who came in yesterday. But
Yeah.
it's just beautiful to see that growth, from complete strangers.
Yeah.
And we share one common thing, which is unity. And it's like we're all there for one purpose and for
Mhm.
one mission. And it could be art, it could be just the connection. So our project is called Us Never Them.
Mm.
And that is it. That started off as just a tagline, but now it's grown into a movement. And it's like we have one of our loyal, like, I would say he's one of our partners now. His name is SMS, and he lives in LA, and he does the print pressing for like hoodies and t-shirts and stuff. And
Mm.
he has been gracious enough to give away a few to one of the some of the followers. And it's just to the community members, I mean. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's nice that we have people who are from various, industries and career paths are in the space, and they all have their unique things. And it's really interesting as well to see a lot of women in the NFT space, because it's a very male dominant field, and a space filled with just, it's just, the crypto boys or the
Yeah.
NFT. Like, there's always a men that are in these spaces, but it's nice to see a lot of women who are creators, but they're also
Mm.
artists, and they're also,
Mm.
designers, and they're also builders.
Yeah.
And they are as much active and as much committed as men are, if not even more. And it's just really, really inspiring, because women are women are superheroes. Like the things that they do, like, um there's this one woman in our space, and she has like a bunch of kids, like four or five. And like, it's like, how can she manage her kids and her work and
Mhm.
be active in those spaces
Yeah.
and doing what she likes to do and be a wife and a mother? And it's like, how can, like, I can only imagine how you can do all those things. Like, I won't be able to do even half of those things,
Right.
let
Right.
alone do them the right way. I probably
Yeah.
mess up halfway through or every day. And it's just really like, women are powerful beings, and we're so uh we all came from a woman. So like, this is something that we need to remember. And it's like,
Mhm.
without women we would be nothing. Like, we wouldn't even
Yeah.
exist. Like, literally, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So we need to just, take a moment and appreciate the women in our lives, whether they're mothers, sisters, co-workers. It's just really something to appreciate, you know.
Yeah. That's a
So
great
yeah.
point you make. And
Okay.
I guess can you, if you don't mind, could you explain a little bit more about like, I don't know if it's too much to ask to explain what an
Yeah.
NFT is, but like just with your specific project, like what is it that you're
Yeah.
hoping to do, say like a year from today? Like what would you like to see?
So the one thing I would say, without giving away too much information, because we're still at the building phase, we have a Discord, and I can share the link below with you. The people are interested to know more about it. And in our Discord, we have all the information that you need. Like, we have this thing called the roadmap. In this NFT space, we have a roadmap, which is basically a plan of what we're planning to do in quarter 1, in Q2, and throughout the first year. And then, based on those objectives that we plan to do, once the collection is launched, it's going to be a collection of 6,000 NFTs, whatever the number of supply that you have. That's when, after the sellout, or after the project is launched, and you have the amount that you wanted to sell sold. Obviously, there is no success guarantee in the space. Like, you could either make it or you don't, but you could
Right.
also, it doesn't mean, even if you don't, it doesn't mean that you failed. Just means that you haven't reached the goal that
Right.
you wanted to reach. But you can still continue that project if you have
Mhm.
the support of the community. Right now, we have, thankfully, we have a strong community. We have over 7 or 8 different project members. 7 different or 8 different communities have joined us in our spaces and are part of our project that they believe in. And
Oh
that's
wow.
and that's the most important thing. Like
Mhm,
for us, never them, we value quality over quantity. You
mhm,
know, people always think that, oh, if you have 100,000 followers, or you have like this amount, then you're famous or whatever. But for us, it's more of like we selectively reward and pay attention to the ones who have been there from the start, and the ones who are new, and the ones who are actively participating and
mhm.
engaging with community members and the spaces.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's just really for us, I would say, like it's more of like the objective of the project is unlike anything else, where okay, we do have a plan of launching a phygital collection, which is a mixture of physical and digital items. So this includes like we're planning to launch a streetwear clothing brand, as well as be involved in projects of other people that are part of our investor groups. So let's say
Mhm,
we have um, musicians or artists, and they want to launch their own projects, we would be supporting them as part of our umbrella, and through that we can all succeed together, we can all reach a common goal, which is to mint out. That is the objective, is to sell your collection,
mhm.
and to not just that's not where it ends. Like the goal is to maintain that. And how do you maintain that?
Right.
That's where you have the utility is something that you provide with the people who invest in you. So what are
Mhm.
you giving back to them beside
Right,
the
right,
profile picture, beside a picture of a monkey or something?
right, right.
What are you giving back to those people? You
Yeah.
know, so some people reward them by, with giveaways. Some people are rewarding their investors with a stake in the company. So
Mhm,
let's say you pay, we can convert it into dollars to make it easier, because
mhm.
a lot of people don't know how much the value of an Ethereum is. It
Right,
fluctuates every
right,
day.
right.
Like last week, 2 weeks ago, it was $1,000. Now it's 1,500.
Mhm.
A few months ago it was 4,000. Like nothing makes sense anymore.
Right,
But let's
right.
let's put in simple dollars. Let's say you put in $100, $100 in our project.
Mhm.
Um, let's say 6 months from now, once you stake your NFT, and let's say we build a portal where you can, staking is basically in simple terms, putting in your NFT into a vault, and it just compounds with money, with interest, and you either get rewarded with tokens or with actual money.
Right.
So let's say you stake your NFT for 90 days, three
Mhm,
months. Uh, you can receive passive income. You can get paid back
mhm.
a, a portion of what you invested in. And the
Right.
longer you stake, or the more you hold on into this, or if you buy more, you get rewarded more. So
Mhm.
that's where like that's where the value is in NFTs.
Gotcha.
Obviously there's the other aspect of buying and selling, which is just flipping. Like you buy
Mhm.
something for $1 and sell it for $10. You just made
Right.
10x, This happens, but these are very, risky.
Mhm.
You could either have big gains or big losses if you don't know
Mhm.
what you're doing.
Right.
So the idea is to invest. For me personally, I invest long term. If I believe in the project, I don't
Mhm.
worry about the floor price, about what the current price is. Like there was a project where I bought in 2 weeks ago for, in dollars, I bought it for $20, and now it's valued at $240. So I could sell, and I bought two. So I spent 40 bucks, and now I have a net worth of 480.
Mhm.
Uh, Based on that,
Yeah.
in my wallet. But I didn't sell it because I believe in the long-term value of this project, and it could increase. It could, for me, in a year or so, it could literally be 4 or 5 times that,
Mhm.
if I remain. And even if it doesn't, I believe in the project creator and the
Mhm.
artist who's in charge of those designs. So it's just really, it's a really beautiful space. Once you get in,
Yeah.
it's not for everybody, of course.
Yeah.
People are very skeptical about it. They think it's a scam, or they think it's something. There are scams that go in. Like,
Right,
I'm not
right.
gonna
I was gonna say
hide the
there
fact that this
there it
happens.
seems like there
There are
have been.
many scams, especially if you don't know what you're doing. And the way it is like you have this digital wallet
Mhm.
where you sign contracts whenever you complete a transaction, right? So
Mhm.
if you're clicking on random links and you're signing away the contract, they could do something as which is just draining your wallet and steal all whatever you have, whatever money you have in NFTs in your wallet. It could be stolen. So like that's why you have a cold wallet and a hot wallet, and then if you want to get a hardware wallet, it's good to have a hardware wallet, which is like a ledger.
Right.
It's called a ledger, and you have a USB, and you just plug it into your laptop, and you have to approve of every transaction
Right.
physically.
Right.
And that's the most secure thing, is that you don't have to worry about losing your stuff or having your money stolen and cracked and whatever.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that every wallet has a password, and to reset, like let's say I want to log in from like a different device, I can't do so unless I have this, secret key phrases. And these range from like 12 to 24 different words, but you have to put them in the exact same order. So let's say like house, chair, tube, you just have to put them in the correct order. And you have to write those down somewhere, or keep them somewhere safe, because if
Right.
anybody has those key phrases,
Mhm.
they can access your wallet and
Yeah.
transfer all your funds. So I mean, it's a very risky place, but if you navigate it, and you do your research, and
Mhm.
there's that's I always say DYOR. DYOR is
Mhm.
do your own research.
Yeah.
And once you have enough, understanding of what you're doing,
Mhm.
then you can proceed to the next thing.
Yeah.
And as a community, we always encourage people to ask questions,
Right.
to whenever they're unsure of something, to not act, out of rash, just because you want to do something, just and rush into it. Like it's
Mhm.
okay to ask questions. It's okay to not be sure. Like nobody knows everything. We weren't born with everything in our hand, So
Right. Right.
it's important to ask whenever you need help.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's funny because I learned about NFTs through following Gary Vaynerchuk and just seeing like what his
Mm-hmm.
project has been, and like learn jumping on Discord for the first time. I think Discord was mainly
Mm-hmm.
used through like streaming Twitch and being able to
Streaming and
interact with
gaming,
that.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
it's like I very quickly learned like some how would you say, personalities, like certain personalities, if you're able to go in between things very quickly and read things and interact with multiple people, it helps to be able to do that on the fly, because like just seeing the volume of stuff that's going on, and like this is how this, and then that I was like, okay, if I've got to do my own research, I'm just going to
Mhm.
table it for now and just come back to it at a later time.
Yeah.
But it's good to see someone like yourself or someone like Gary, as like you get to know somebody that they're consistent in what they're doing, because then you're
Well,
just like, okay,
I can't be compared to Gary.
well,
He's way more.
right,
Please
but
don't
I guess
compare me to Gary.
right, but
As
what
as
I'm getting
flattering as
at,
that is, I'm not on his level. I aspire to be, but
right, but
yeah,
I guess what
yeah,
I say that because what I'm getting at is that
yeah.
like I just know I've I just mentioned you in the same breath because it's like
Mhm,
two people that
mhm.
are doing something like
Something in
you're
common. Yeah,
yeah, something in common, something
yeah.
in NFT space. But just the
Mhm,
fact that um when someone's genuine about what they're saying, and when they're transparent about it, like you could see what's going on. It's not
yeah.
um like a lot of times it's we'll wait and see, like we'll see how things play out, and then
Mhm,
also like you said, you can't always predict things, but it's good to see that when things go well or things don't go well, the person is still consistent
mhm.
in who they are. They don't switch up to be like, well, this didn't work because of this, or it's like they don't start
Yeah,
blaming other people. And seeing like what Gary's been doing and like providing content,
yeah,
providing information to people on a regular basis, and just saying like, "Hey, this is what works for me. These are things that you
yeah.
should consider. Like, this is how the
Mhm,
conversation should change." And seeing that this market is basically opening up the way for like moms, um, women that may not have been, that might have been overlooked. Like you see artists like being able to have a platform, a
absolutely.
way to say like, hey, here's my
Yeah,
thing, and somebody's like, okay, hey, I like that. But then
yeah,
them
yeah.
being able to um not just make something and give it away, but to continue to build on what it is that they have and like make it a lifetime project. I was like, I don't quite understand it all the way, but it's like as I see things slowly playing out, it's like I think
Mm.
I'm kind of getting it. And it may be one of those things that I can't get into because I don't understand the rules of engagement, but at least being an
Mm.
observer, it's like you see the good, and like the people that are fraudulent, it's they're the ones that are very sloppy about it, where it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, now you see
See,
somebody
yeah.
you see someone run like an insurance scam or something
Yeah.
over and over. It's like, okay, really? Like
Mhm.
you're calling me about my car is in what state, and you're calling
Yeah.
me by the wrong name, and like, but like
Mhm.
at least taking those precautions to say, hey, if you're going to be in the NFT space, if you're going to be in the virtual space, these are the precautions that you need to take. And then, hey,
Yeah.
join the Twitter spaces, like get on there, get to know the people, read the roadmap. Like
Mhm.
the information is there, but it's like if you're not willing to take the time to
Yeah.
read the information, to get familiar with it, it's like you can't be mad at the person that is doing the work and it's like, oh, I didn't get what I was wanting from it. It's like,
Exactly. You know,
it's what
it's like that saying when people, I don't know the exact phrase, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like
mhm,
you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink it. Like
right.
you can just guide someone to the project, and all I can advise you is to read to check out the website if they have a website, to engage with other community members, to read about what their long-term plans are, and if it's something that aligns with what you want, that you accept, then by all means go in. But if it doesn't, then don't. But again, you mentioned Gary Vee, and he's one of those social media influencers. But there are a lot of NFT influencers or people that are on YouTube promoting these projects, but they have no involvement in them. They just get paid to promote. And that's where you have to be very careful. There's a lot of schemes and scams happening because these people are getting paid hundreds and thousands of dollars in Ethereum, and they're just promoting projects that could be fake, or the project that are not up to the standard, and it's very dangerous, and it really just like discourages newcomers to get into the space because they think everything is a scam because they've been scammed once or twice. I know a person who got scammed 3 times, but it wasn't his fault. It's just because uh, as much as transparency as you might think that there are things that are unpredictable. So I always tell people whenever it comes to investing or when it comes to anything, like invest what you can afford to lose. Don't go in with all your life savings and your family. Like I've read stories of people like you know ending marriages, gambling their houses and losing their family and their kids, and it's like it can be addicting. It can reach a point where it's almost like gambling if you're just constantly buying things and you get out of control. So it's again, if we go back to the point of balance, it's like
Mm,
everything in life has to be balanced, because if you excessively do anything,
mhm,
uh then that's harmful, to you
yeah,
and to your family, especially if you are married and you have kids and you have responsibilities, and um it could bite you back, you know
yeah,
so it's always important to just do your reading, do your research, and always ask questions. This is one thing. Like you can never ask a stupid question. Like I have, especially like women who come into the space are like, oh, I don't know, is this a stupid question, or is this what it is? Like, is this how you transfer? Or is this how you purchase or whatever? And it's like it's a question. It's a question is a question, and I can, because there's so many different wallets. There's so many different currencies. You have Ethereum, you have Solana, you have Cardano, you have many different hundreds and hundreds of tokens, but it's just finding the right one, and the right start to project. So as much as people hate on Cardano, there are pretty good entry level projects that you can get into for like if you're comparing it to, if you're converting it to dollars, you
yeah,
can start with $10-20 and buy your first NFT for $20, and then
mhm,
and then slowly move on. But
yeah,
again, it's such a deep world, like it's such a ocean of knowledge that it's not just NFTs and this. You have the metaverse. That's a whole different
right,
sphere.
right.
You know,
And then you
you
have
have
like the
virtual lands.
Bitcoin,
You
you
have
have the
virtual lands and
Bitcoin
property.
purists that are like, forget all of
Oh,
that. Like you just got to stick to
yeah,
this. And it's like, man,
yeah,
like just the
yeah.
sheer arrogance sometimes gets annoying where it's
Mm-hmm,
like, I
mm-hmm,
like how you presented it because it's like, hey, this is an ecosystem that people can thrive in, but also the people that
mm-hmm.
have been there are willing to engage those people and actually answer
Yeah.
the questions that they might think is not smart, as to
Yeah.
where somebody else would club you over the head and be like, "Oh, you big
Mm-hmm.
dummy, why don't you go read the Bitcoin standard? Why? Oh, they just this is dumb.
Yeah.
They don't know." It's like, okay, if you keep meeting people with that energy, maybe they're not gonna want to just go along to get along.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and as I was saying, like it's not just, the PFPs or the utility. You can also like purchase virtual land, and you can build, buy estates and build houses and villas and whatever you want. Like the opportunities are limitless. You can enter the metaverse and build your character or buy, and it's just such a vast. It's a very interesting time that we're living in because you know I really like this new music NFT thing
Mhm,
where there's this artist, his name is Sammy Arrieta, and
mhm,
I invested into his music NFT a couple months ago, and so far in the past few months he's not only rewarded us with like free NFTs, which
mhm,
are called airdrops. It's
mhm,
just, he just drops it to your wallet, and
mhm,
it's like he gave us exclusive songs. We join him on a private Zoom group phone call every Sunday, and he gives us a free concert. He gives us discounts to his merchandise, and like, so it's created more of a personalized experience between the artist and the supporter, and I find that beautiful because when was the last time you connected with a person with and I had no information about who he is
yeah,
besides a TikTok song that went viral,
yeah,
and he makes country music, and then he started, dabbling to like kind of R&B ish type. But it's just I fell in love with not only the music but
mhm,
his personality, because he seemed like he's a genuine person,
mhm,
and he's a man of his word. Everything is clear. He's transparent,
mhm,
So these type of things encourage you to be a part of
yeah,
something, and yeah, it's just a journey. It's a whole journey, and I'm happy to be in this space,
and
despite its
that's
ups and downs,
yeah,
despite the wins and the losses, and there have been more losses than wins, like in the past, year. But
mhm,
the wins have been quite, bit quite large, So again, I mean, the way you value things is differently, because with the market fluctuations, it's kind of hard to, unless you want to like go and count exactly how much you made and how much you lost. But
mhm,
it's just fun.
yeah,
Just enjoy it for what it is. Don't worry about how much you spent and how much you, because if I did, it's probably close to like $10,000 or $12,000 that I've spent
oof,
in this in the space. But I made a lot of friends. I made a lot
yeah,
of friends on the internet.
yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a good perspective, but also it's like you're
Yeah. Yeah.
but
People think that
it's
I'm crazy, but I have friends. I have friends in the metaverse. I have houses in the metaverse, you
yeah,
know? Yeah.
that I guess I'm not there yet, but I'm willing
Yeah.
to I'm willing to walk walk alongside you. And I think
Mm,
that's that's maybe a great place to stop for today, but like just the opportunities are endless, but you have to be willing to pay attention to what it is that you're choosing. And I think
absolutely.
it's very well said on your part. You just gotta you need to be open, but also accountable for your actions, because it's like you don't just open yourself up all the way and be like, hey, he said to just go out here. It's like, hey, he said do
Hmm.
your research, like do the small work that you need to do today so that you don't
Hmm.
get caught up tomorrow in something else. But one last question I'd like to ask you is from the first question I asked you, are you still who you said you were?
Absolutely. If anything, I mean, I can't say I'm the same person, because in during this conversation, I've learned a lot, and I like to say that I learn new things every day. Like even in this NFT space, even with work, I've been in this space for 9 months now, and I learn new things every day. And even during this conversation, I've learned many things, many inspiring things from your end, and it's just really beautiful to connect with people, and to learn and to grow together, because that's what, you know that's the purpose of life, is to heal from your trauma and hopefully grow and inspire. And all we have as humans are connections, whether they
Mhm.
are with other humans or with animals. Like I have a little cat that I
Yeah.
love very dearly. She's gonna be turning 3 next in September.
Mhm.
And I had her since she was like 6 weeks. So
Mhm.
I adopted her at a very young age. But I value these connections with animals too. Like I have friends who have dogs. Um, it's just a sense of loyalty and just, it's like unconditional love. It's unconditional. Like like regardless of how your day is going, when you come back home and you have your pet, it's just, I mean, I don't have kids to compare to, so like I'm not gonna say having a kid is better than having a pet, but like
Mhm.
that's what I have right now,
Yeah.
and she's my daughter, Naomi. Yeah. Shout out Naomi.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Um, yeah, but I appreciate your time, and this is a very fruitful conversation, and hopefully we do connect soon.
yeah.
Yeah,
And thanks again for agreeing to talk to me. And it was a pleasure having you on.
absolutely.